Well, thank you everybody for being here. So for those that are joining us, we're here to talk about a brand new, first of its kind collaboration between World Beyond War and the Rotary Action Group for Peace. The project is called Peace Education and Action for Impact, a cross-cultural intergenerational project conceived by and developed with World Beyond War and Rotary Action Group for Peace. For those that don't know, World Beyond War is a global grassroots organization with membership in 190 countries. And our main focus is that we're against the war system and towards building a system based on peace, where peace can be pursued by peaceful means. And for those, I know that there's some Rotarians with this. So Rotary is the largest service organization in the world, 1.2 million members, 36,000 clubs around the world. And the focus, Rotary Action Group for Peace, is also along the lines of ending war and building peace. And we've got Dennis here, who's part of one of the co-founders. We've got Alison, who's the chair. We've got Shab, who's also part of the Rotary Action Group for Peace. So thank you for being with us. We start here by saying welcome to the movement, because really we want to start something here. It's a real movement bringing two kind of powerhouse organizations together to work on this first of its kind project. I'm very fortunate to be part of and collaborating with both World Beyond War and Rotary, as I'm the education director for World Beyond War, and also I'm a Rotary Peace Fellow, and I've worked on many projects, including global grants over the years with wonderful Rotarians in different parts of the world. Oh, so we talk about this as kind of welcome to the movement. In terms of the movement, let's begin. Always a good start is begin with the end in mind. Where do we want to get to by the end of our hour and a half today? Well, we want to hopefully give an idea of the following. We want to introduce the project. We want to talk about why World Beyond War and Rotary Action Group for Peace come together and thought this project was needed, some of the benefits involved, how the project works, and more importantly, how do you get involved? So we can already tell you that we've got a lot of interest around this project, a lot of interest. Along the way, we want to hear from some youth leaders, which really deserve a lot of credit for actually asking for us to do this project, you know, so I'll say something about that shortly. And we want to hear from you in terms of how can we go about bringing this project to where you are. So that's hopefully where we're going to. But before we do that, and I'm going to come off the screen, and for those that were with us last time, they'll know this. It's always lovely to get a sense of who's with us, okay? So in order to do this, I'm going to ask you a question. And if the answer is yes, you can either put your hands up, you can either stand up, or you can either shout, yes. Make sense? Let's do it. Okay, so are you a Rotarian? If you are, put your hands up, shout, stand up, or shout yes. Okay, so we can see there's quite a few Rotarians. Okay, are you, perfect. Are you part of World Beyond War, either World Beyond War, the organization, World Beyond War Youth Network, etc.? Okay, perfect. We can see there's quite a few here. Okay, are you a young person? Do you define yourself as a young person? If so, put your hands up, stand up, shout. Hey, great, Helen, this is great. Yeah, me too, yeah. Okay, here we go, here's the other one. Are you concerned about the state of the world and committed to bringing about more peace in the world? Yes. Okay, so what can we see here? What we can see is that we have wonderful diversity in terms of younger people, not so young people, in terms of Rotarians, and in terms of people from World Beyond War. What connects us all, though, all of the people on the call, is a real concern in terms of the state of the world and a real commitment around trying to collaborate and bring about more peace. So we're all in this together. So thank you so much. It's always nice, and we always do that as well to kind of get a bit of an interactive kind of feeling. So thank you for all being with us. I'm going to share my screen again. Here we go. So we know who's here. So let's say a little bit about, it would be remiss not to say a big thank you. And there's a few thank yous that we want to give. One is we want to do a shout out. Actually, we want to do a shout out to the young people in particular. So Alison and Shab here, they are part of the Rotary Action Group for Peace, but they're also part of the co-founders of the Rotaract for Peace. This project, in a sense, arose in response to young people saying, because we were asked to do a session with, as part of a World Peace Conference that the Rotaract for Peace worked on. Many young people come to us and said, Phil, we would love to work on a project with World Beyond War and with Rotary. Can we make this happen? So first and foremost, we need to do a shout out to the young people for bringing us here today. They deserve a lot of credit for basically helping us to bring about this project. Off the back of that, we all got together. People at Rotary Action Group for Peace, Rotaract for Peace, and World Beyond War to think through this project and what we're going to be presenting today. Another big thank you goes to, in a sense, although this is a brand new project for World Beyond War and Rotary Action Group for Peace, it's not new in the sense that I've been fortunate over the years to work with many different organizations. I've got to do a shout out to my colleagues who invited me to help start another program, which is called New Gen Peace Builders. And I was very fortunate to help develop the program with New Gen Peace Builders in terms of the model, etc. So I want to do a shout out to them as well, because some of the ideas that I was asked to put together while at New Gen Peace Builders have informed what we're going to see here today as well. And I also developed them actually before New Gen Peace Builders while doing my PhD. So it's a very drawn out process where I build on many different ideas and collaborations along the way. So nothing's ever, one person. It's a real collaborative effort. And in order to make this project work moving forward, like we do at Rotary, like we do at World Beyond War, we need the collaboration of young people, of community members on the ground in their context. It's not just a case of us putting together great content. We really want to work in collaboration with you all. So thank you to you. And thank you to you all for being leaders, for being here with us. So thank you. It's a great place to start with showing appreciation. So let's talk a little bit about why World Beyond War and Rotary Action Group for Peace got together to do this project. Well, we've said a little bit about in terms of recommendations. This is our guiding star. Equipping young people with the skills, tools, and support to prevent war and promote peace is one of the most important and global challenges facing humanity. So there's our guiding star in terms of why we thought about this project. But let's break it down even more so. When you look at conflict in the world, we know that conflict is a constant part of everyday life. So conflict's not good or not bad, conflict just is. The real issue here is violent conflict. The world now is at a 30-year high in terms of violent conflict. The quintessential version of violent conflict, and actually one of the reasons why we're not progressing as well as we could do, is war. So war diverts attention away from productive activities such as health, such as education, such as the pandemic right now. We're spending about 14 trillion a year in terms of containing violence around the world. 14 trillion costs the global economy, and 2 trillion of that is spent on war or preparing for war. So there is the justification why we need to look at this project and why peace is war is very much a threat to generating or advancing peace around the world. So we know that peace is a task for everyone. In the past, it used to be governments, but we now know from the United Nations and the culture of peace that everybody has a role to play in peace building. In fact, the United Nations says that best, in the sense that in order to work for sustainable development in the world, we need to look at peace. And that is because out of the 17 sustainable development goals, the reason why we're not making as much progress on the 17 sustainable development goals is because violence is diverting attention away from achieving these. And the United Nations says that there can be no sustainable development without peace. There can be no peace without sustainable development. So it's a global issue, peace building. When we look at peace education, we can see that UNICEF, among others, have made the argument that peace education is not just a peripheral thing, it's actually central to what we call quality education. And then we look more broadly also, the United Nations and other organizations see peace education is central really to peace building, because if we want to try and bring about more peace in the world, we have to have a good understanding of what peace is, of how to develop skills in order to bring about more peace in our lives. So then when we look at the role of young people, now we have more young people on the planet than ever before in the whole of history. Ever before. So if we're obviously not engaging young people in peace building work, we're missing out on something. So the age range 15 to 24 is the largest and fastest growing demographic on the planet. The issue is too often this young people, and still despite, and I could talk about this a lot, despite brand new resolutions coming out, 3 resolutions from the United Nations in the last 5 years, young people are still seen as problems to be solved rather than resources or problem solvers. They're too often excluded. And when you think about it, all governments talk about the importance of peace, all. But then here's the question: why aren't we teaching peace education in schools and universities, across the board? We're just not. So hopefully there's a little bit of background in terms of the rationale around why people need to learn skills around conflict, why peace is important, why the role of youth. But there's some of you here that are from Rotary. So here's the question: why Rotary? Why did we decide to collaborate with Rotary? Well, when you look around the world, one thing that is common in every single club, in every single district across the planet in Rotary, everybody is interested in growing membership. Everybody, all Rotary clubs, okay? This project that we're going to present today is a wonderful opportunity to grow Rotary Peace Fellows, future Rotary Peace Fellows, but also grow members in terms of Interact, Rotaract, and Rotarians. All Rotarians are really interested in how can we engage more effectively with the community? How can we engage more effectively with Interact, with Rotaract and Rotary Peace Fellows? Well, this project is one way in which we can do it. And all Rotarians are interested in how can we widen our sphere of influence. So there's some of the rationale for why we decided to work together on this project. Alison, can I put you on the spot here? Can you say a little bit, and maybe Shab as well, a little bit about why you were very interested in collaborating on this project together, and some of your ideas moving forward, maybe?
I have to refer to your previous slide, though, because we've got some Rotarians on here. And I think you've used the Spanish for interact here, but interact has no R and an E in it. It's interact. Down a bit. Okay, but just so as you know for the future, I know we'll have a couple of that be on here that were saying, oh, but I think you were in Bolivian mode when you did it. Anyway, yes. Why do we think this is important? Well, we in the RAG think it's important because our mission statement is about engage, educate, and empower, and children and youth are central to that. And I think it's essential to actually work with young people, because if you think about it, that we older ones have formulated opinions and so on, so forth. We need to actually start reaching out with all of this kind of information and these tools. It's not about that, it's giving them critical and analytical thinking capacity and the ability to see for themselves what's going on and to make valued choices. And I think this is central to everything that Rotary does. Think about Rotary generally. Youth is at the center of everything we do. We're about developing young leaders, our Peace Fellows. If you look at those, you look at the various groups. We have Rota Kids, which some call kindergarten, small children. Then we have the high school, secondary children, and Rotaract, etc. And it feeds beautifully into all of that. And what this does, and what I love about this particular project, it's going to connect youth from 10 different countries. So that's 10 different cultures, that's possibly 10 different issues, that's 10 different mindsets coming, all with ideas. And I think what's going to be exciting is that Phil and I are going to learn a great deal from them, let alone what they're going to achieve. So I would say that I'm sold on it. It fits perfectly within the RAG mission. But I like to say, Shab, would you add anything to that? Because you are a fellow director also.
You know, if we listen to Mahatma Gandhi, he says, when you want to establish peace, you start with the youth. And why we start with the youth? Because if we say we start with a 20-year-old right now, and we can get 20 years of them serving Rotary or serving peace in the world, I'm gonna just do it on a computer or a little computer. So let's say 60 years in Rotary times 365 equal times 24 hours equal. So we might get from that young man or young woman about 525,600 hours of service that they can be working on peace somewhere in the world. Multiply that by 30,000 Rotaract that they are right now around the world. And you can see the value of the kindness that Rotaract can provide the world, and Rotarians at the same time can provide the world. And why we brought these young people around? Because we did not hear from them when the pandemic hit, and we want them to work with the Rotarians all the time. And as a matter of fact, they did. They held 2 peace conferences so far in the world, one intellectual and one music, and they're ready to hold. And now they're sprouting around the world, different little organization or Rotaract for Peace and different projects. And that's what we need them to see. We want to see the wisdom of the Rotarians combined with the energy of the Rotaract, and that's what established peace. And can we really control the negative peace? No, we can control positive peace through our 7 areas of focus, and that's where the Rotaract are working right now. And we are honored and privileged to see a lot of young people over here, although we have aged Rotarian, they are young in spirits, because that's why you're here, to work with the young people. We're privileged, we're honored, and to be with you, with all of you, and serve with you, serve humanity together. Thank you, Phil, you're awesome. All of you, you're awesome. And I see one thing I give everyone. What is it? Okay, here. And that's who you are, all of you. You're people of action, and you're peace builders all over the world. So thank you.
Thank you, Alison. Thank you, Shab. I have no idea how I'm going to follow that, after the inspirational talks by Alison and Shab. I'm going to do my best. Thank you so much. So you've heard it, from Alison and Shab in terms of why they were interested in collaboration. Well, we were interested in collaboration because of the Rotary connections that we have, but also because of the wonderful background that we have of working on projects with Rotarians. So we're going to say something about that shortly. And Shab spoke about this. It's the real importance of putting young people at the center of peace building work, of war abolition work, but also doing it in a way that fosters and encourages intergenerational collaboration, because so much can be learned from each other. So young people can learn a lot from people that aren't so young, and vice versa. So this project really provides a platform and a space to make that happen. So I want to say a little bit now, and we're going to hear from young people shortly as well, a little bit about this project. And a good place to start in terms of project is always, let's begin with the end in mind. Here is the guiding star for us moving forward. This is what keeps us kind of connected and centered on where we want to get to. Our ambition, World Beyond War and Rotary Action Group for Peace, is to connect and support new generations of peace builders and war abolishers, aka agents of change, in 10 or more countries on this project. But our strategic vision is that we see this as acting as a model year in, year out, for when Rotaract, Interact come in and are interested in working on projects, are interested in making a difference. This project that we're going to present it will hopefully act as a model year in, year out, and actually build on it. So after the year one, we'll look at, okay, well, can young people become mentors and vice versa, etc. So this is the idea. I'm going to kind of say a little bit more. What is the value? Well, one is that, so you on the call, you might be, well, okay, why should I get involved? Or why should young people be involved with this project? Well, we've thought of a number of different reasons. One is that you'll become part of a global movement. So as you know, Rotary Global, World Beyond War Global, to gladiators in the arena, gladiators, non-violent gladiators, working together on a project. At the end, if you go through the project, by the way, as you would have read, is 6 weeks of online peace education and 8 weeks of peace project mentoring, culminating in peace projects. If you go through the whole process, you will come out and receive a certification from both Rotary Action Group for Peace and World Beyond War as certified peace builders and war abolishers. And the war abolishers is an important part as well as the peace builders, because it's the biggest threat to building peace in the world. You'll have an opportunity to contribute to global goals at a local level, to make a real difference at the local level. You'll be working with recognized organizations, access to award-winning educational materials. So the program, the curriculum, it's really PhD, master's level material that we offer in an accessible way to young people and adults that work with them. We're very fortunate at World Beyond War to have gained global recognition for our work, particularly in the educational area. We won the Global Challenges Award. Only 10 organizations around the world won that, based on educating young people and communities around global challenges, such as war, such as nuclear weapons and climate change. You'll have an opportunity to make a real impact. You'll have an opportunity to engage with different young people and communities from different countries. So as Alison mentioned, the ambitious aim is to have 10 countries together working on this project. We need to look at the funding, and we're in that process. But the idea is that people from Venezuela, young people, could learn from people from Syria, which we have on the call, can learn from people from Canada, etc. And I know Helen is on the call, who's a wonderful part of World Beyond War and also Rotarian. She was very interested in that, of bringing, how can we bring, other young people that never get an opportunity to engage with other young people, in really war-torn areas, to learn together. And then finally, value for the Rotarians that are here. It's a wonderful opportunity to grow your membership, to engage more Rotarians in this work. How does it work? Well, here is a model that has been developing in my head for many, many years. I put it together in the PhD, and I put together a developed version of this for another organization that I helped to develop, New Gen Peace Builders. It has 3 different parts. One, people in the middle. First and foremost, we start with people. So that is young people and adults working together on peace projects. And then the way in which that we engage them is through research, education, and action. So the education part, which will be the peace education, they'll go through an online learning process, and I'll say something about that shortly. The research part is that they'll actually do some research to find out what the needs are in their community. Then they'll put together an action project where youth lead and adults guide. So it's an intergenerational collaboration. They'll put the projects together. But then what will happen is that after they've done the projects, they will have an opportunity to showcase those projects to the community, and we call that advocacy. So they'll advocate for broader change. In doing so, the idea is that they engage with the community. So this is the local communities around it. With the idea, and the practitioners, scholars, policymakers, donors, is the idea of trying to bring about broader change. So how can we engage the practitioner community, the academic community, policymakers, to try and make peace education and peace building work more accessible to more young people? So there's a little bit about the model. The model that are put together and is now used by New Gen Peace Builders, they use the education and action part of this model that are put together during my time there. So, okay, so what does this mean in practice? What does it physically look like in practice? Well, it looks like a wonderful collaboration between World Beyond War and Rotary Action Group for Peace. Has 2 parts, a 2-pronged approach to change making. 1, peace education, and 2, peace action. The peace education part will be 6 weeks online, and we run online courses all the time at World Beyond War. We're very good. We ran 4 last year, and we all had more than 100 attend. We're actually running one right now, and we have 150 people on the course from all around the world. Some people are on it, on here with us now. And on this course, would you believe, the youngest that we know of is 11, and the oldest that I know of is 94. So how about that for intergenerational collaboration, bringing people together? So the idea is that 120 people would go through this 6-week online journey. 100 would be young people, so 10 young people from 10 different countries. And we say young people, the main focus, although I know Helen's on the call, it would be 18 to 35, but we can be adaptable on that. We can have a conversation about that, because there's some young people under 18, but we need to have a conversation about that. And then the other 20 adults, it would actually be 10 young people and 2 mentors for 1 country project team. And I'll say something about that shortly. So what happens in these 6 weeks? Well, they actually go through a process which we're calling the head, the heart, the hands of peace building. So 2 weeks would look at the head. And what we mean by this is the theories, the concepts, the ideas of peace building, drawing from our World Beyond War award-winning book, which looks at the blueprint for ending war based on 3 broad strategies: demilitarizing security, managing conflict without violence, and creating a culture of peace. That's the head. Then 2 weeks would look at, which is something quite often overlooked, but I think it's a real issue that it's overlooked, looking at the heart of peace building, looking at the development as the human being, looking at what we call ways of being with self and others. And then 2 weeks, week 4, 5, and 6, would be, how do we develop high impactful projects? Here's another model that we kind of use. So it looks at the knowing, the being, and the doing of peace building, what we can call intellectual intelligence. This is the knowing. It's very, very important, necessary, but not sufficient. But also emotional intelligence, actually it's showing now in terms of leadership, it's often much more important than actually what you know. This ability to interact with yourself and others. Peace building is very complex. And at the end of the day, it's about relationships. So how can we support young people and others to develop relationships and navigate relationships in more honest, empathic, and caring ways? And then the practical intelligence. Quite often in universities and schools, they kind of miss out this bit. How do people take what they've learned and actually put it into practice in the community? So this is the challenge, the opportunity. Here's a little bit more about what we cover in terms of the head part. And I've said something about that. And here's our wonderful global security system, which lays out a systems approach to peace building. Here is the, is the lovely dog there. Oh, it's automatically shifting. Here is the heart part. So navigating relationships with authenticity, empathy, and compassion. These weeks will really be asking young people and the mentors to really take a look at themselves and turn the mirror inwards to look at their own development as a peace builder. And then, of course, how do we organize collectively? So we're looking at how do we go about doing projects. For those we use an online learning platform for the 6 weeks. So there would be material online so people can access the material whenever they want to in their own time. And we'll have guest facilitators. So a guest expert from around the world facilitating each of the 6 weeks. And they would engage with participants, and participants would engage with other participants throughout the 6 weeks. So there's a little bit about the peace education program, but it doesn't stop there. The idea is, okay, how can we then support young people and communities to go and put their learning into action, to try and make a difference in their community? So the second part is what we call peace action. And the idea is that young people would work on projects and be guided by 2 or more mentors. The impact would be, at the end, 10 or more peace projects in 10 or more different countries. And alongside that would be community events, which would be a wonderful space for Rotarians, for young people to showcase the work that they're doing, and as a way to kind of showcase the work that they're doing to widen their sphere of influence in these 10 or more different countries. So that's where we're going. Another really cool thing about this, really kind of innovative, is that as the young people are going and doing their projects in their own communities and countries, we're going to set up what we call intergenerational cross-cultural communities of inquiry. What we mean by that is that every 2 weeks, we're going to bring the different young people and communities together online via Zoom to present their ongoing work as an opportunity for people from Canada, or opportunity for people from USA to look at what are they doing in Syria, to look at what are they doing in Colombia as a way of learning together. This is really cool. This is a really innovative part of the project, we think. A little bit, why should we work with, Rotary Action Group for Peace and World Beyond War? Well, one is that this is an ambitious project, but it's based on a proven track record. We've done this stuff before many times. We've won many awards for World Beyond War based on our work. So we have a proven track record. As we said earlier, this is a little bit about us. We said a little bit about Rotary earlier. So that's why people would be interested in working with us. Our educational materials draws from, we work with some of, and we call these people here our study and action partners, but these are some of the who's who of peace building. So we've got Leah, who's with us from World Beyond War as the president. We've got on here David Swanson, who's the executive director, nominated several times for the Nobel Peace Prize. For those people on the call, you might recognize some of these faces. We've got Betty Reardon, who's known as the mother of peace education. We've got Tony Jenkins, who's the coordinator for the Global Campaign for Peace Education. We've got Ambassador Chowdhury, who's the person behind the culture of peace at the UN. We've got Cora Wise, who is the president for the Hague Appeal for Peace. These are people that have all helped inform our educational materials and people that we work with very closely. So we have very strong products and services. So there's a little bit about the project to give you an idea. Before I kind of move on further, we really want to give a space to ask the young people that we work with why they think it's important. And here's a little bit what some of the people that we work with tell us about our project. So as you know, on our courses, we have people from high school right up to PhD professors, and here's a comment from Susan, who talks about her experience on our course. So there's a little bit. I want to stop now, and we want to give young people a space who we've invited to kind of talk about why this project is important in general, or more specifically within their context, before we talk about the specific impact. And after this, we're going to have time for questions, answers, and lay out some kind of next steps, because I'm sure there's many people thinking, well, how do I get involved with this? So I'm going to look at my screen now, and I'm going to ask one of our wonderful young people to basically say a few words. Maybe Kasia, if I could put you on the spot to start with, if that's okay. Can you say, so Kasia is a wonderful young person that we're collaborating with and doing an amazing job in terms of helping to create, because it is, the young people are basically taking a leadership role in terms of creating the World Beyond War Youth Network, and Chiara's here will go next too. Can you say something, Kasia, about why you think this project is important for your context? You can say more generally, but if you want to say specifically about Canada, that would be really useful, and why you're so interested in getting involved with this work and this project.
Sure. So I can speak a little bit more generally first, and then a little bit more specifically. So as young people, we're often told that we're the leaders of tomorrow or today. But the question is, how do we really get young people to take on those leadership roles in their community and embrace their fullest potential as peace builders? And I see a project like this being the opportunity for young people that give them the concrete tools and skills to empower them to create peace. Because it's important that we're not just told that youth are important, but we're actually using our intergenerational knowledge to mentor young people to take on that leadership role and pass the baton. And I believe the cross-cultural exchange coming from countries like Canada to countries in the global south is really important to understand how we're all complicit or contributing to the war system in our respective countries. So for example, Canada maybe has a global image of being peace builders, but we are complicit in some ways. So determining how we can work together as young people to dismantle and abolish the war system together and highlight some of the challenges we're facing in our communities is really important. So I think that this is going to be a really great project, and I can't wait to see the outcomes.
Wonderful. Thank you, Kasia. We can't wait for you to be involved. So yeah, thank you so much. Can we go to Chiara now? Are you okay to say something about why you think this is important and maybe your context as well?
Yeah, sure. Well, first of all, nice to virtually meet all of you. Well, I wanted to connect a bit what you were saying before, Phil, about the idea of conflict, because like a lot of philosophers, I'm an international relations student, and I've been told so many times that conflict is natural for human, that we're naturally inclined to conflict with each other. And I don't know how many times I've actually heard during my 3 years program that states and powerful leaders, politicians, whatever position you are in, there's this so-called struggle for power. So struggle for power. But in reality, if you think about war, which is basically the outcome of all this logic, it's totally irrational because there's nothing good coming out of it. And the thing is, I think if youth, young people in general, or whoever would start asking themselves, yeah, what's the effect chemical weapons can have on the planet or on the people? Or how many casualties do we have every day because of war? Because most of us possibly come from countries in which we've never seen war. So you don't really know what that is about. You know it exists, but then you've never seen it. So the reality is youth obviously think about it. I'm sure everyone does. I did when I was 15. The problem is I didn't know where to start looking. Like I didn't know how I actually could go about changing things. And as Kasia just said, we are used to be heard, like to hear, yeah, you're the leaders of tomorrow. So you need to build up a better world, which is without war and it's just with peace. The reality is then it's not so easy for a lot of youth because indeed they don't know where to start from. And I think most of the time also they are scared of expressing their opinion because maybe they feel like adults know better than them. They're too young to start actually being peace builders. But as we also say about World Beyond War is that youth are vital, are key to building peace. So yeah, the reality is this project is amazing just because it gives the opportunity of learning, and then it gives the opportunity, as Phil said, of actually applying the knowledge you acquire. And as also Kasia said, you create such an interconnected environment that then it becomes so easy to learn from people coming from all parts of the world. Like just in the World Beyond War, I mean, Kasia from Canada, I'm talking on behalf of the World Beyond War Youth Network, which we're creating. I'm from Italy, so I'm more about corruption and mafia. That's the first thing I hear when I present myself. And then, for instance, there's Tarek, who's from Syria. So what's a better place to actually learn what peace and war means, if not this? And this is why we need this type of project, because different organizations so big coming together, which involve both really young people and adults. I think that's the best option you can have to actually promote peace. So, yeah.
Thank you.
I wanted to comment on that because the RAG is all about positive peace. So this is quite a new pairing for us, World Beyond War, and it's amazing. But if you think about it, many of us, fortunately, have not lived through a war, but it's an escalation of conflict which brings about a war. And if you take our world at this present time, take everyone on this call, we could all talk about a conflict issue in the countries where we're currently residing. So therefore, it's extremely important to have these tools so that we can de-escalate that, and we can begin with ourselves, our families, our neighbors, our communities, and then it sort of goes out like a concentric circle and moves out. And that's the way that we're going to prevent war in the future, in my opinion.
Thank you, Alison. Yeah, thank you. And thank you, Jared. Thank you, Kasia. And something that Kasia said was quite powerful, actually. And I think it's something that is sometimes overlooked in terms of all of us, lots of us are implicated in the war system. So we're not just talking about war right there, you know, in let's say global north countries. It's about war where it's being prepared, which is often in the global north countries as well. So this is why it's really, really valuable to get people from the global north, both younger and not so young, engaging with people from the global south, which is Chiara spoke about Tarek, and we'll come to you next, Tarek, in terms of who are on the receiving end of this war preparation and, you know, the devastating effects of war on places like, for example, Syria. Are you there, Tarek? Can you say a few words about why you think this project is important for you and your area in Syria?
Yes, hello. Sorry, I can't turn on my camera, but you know, it's quite late here and we don't have much power. But anyway, I just want to talk about the importance of such programs and such, you know, collaborations when it comes to peace building from a certain perspective. You know, I think after 10 years of war now, I guess it's about time that we do something about it. You know, do we as Syrians, you know, it's been, you know, the conflict is complex enough for us, let alone for foreign people. And I think in order to form this let's say, understanding of what's happening, I think there should be this kind of relationship between people from the inside and, you know, people from the outside to forge efforts to do some effective work when it comes to building peace and in the country. Not only just, you know, ending war, which is absolutely the most important, but also trying to building peace with, you know, among the people. Because one of the, you know, main results of the war is dividing the society. You know, we have a polarized society, to say, and it's very divided. It's dissolving, let alone the actual military actions. So it's, you know, quite complex. And as I said, there's this gap between the reality and, you know, what people know outside the country. So we need to and let's face it, we are, you know, running short of opportunities. Programs, because, you know, of the war, of the sanctions, you don't really have, you know, a lot of access to those opportunities of training, of collaboration, international collaborations. So I think, yeah, this program could lead a breakthrough when it comes to this, not only to Syria, but a lot of other countries also suffer from the same shortage of opportunities. So I definitely think it's very important. It could, you know, could lead to further and more effective work on the ground. You know, concrete work. Yeah. Thank you.
Well, I would like to comment on Tarek. You know,
please.
I can understand and relate to you, because I'm a Lebanese origin, and when I was in high school, I remember that I go to school during the day and I carry my AK-47 at night and go protect the village. So I can see where you're coming from. But, you know, joining Rotary and the opportunity that allowed us to do, you know, for the Syrian refugee, we just established a global grant where we have a mobile dental unit that goes to the refugee now. We did the global grant with Alai Club, and they serve the young people and the older people. I think with the energy that you guys, the young people, and that you can put into this program, and the finance that you can get through our foundation. And I put a meeting that's going to happen. I hold a meeting with many districts around the world, and we connect people for global grant. I put that meeting in the chat, so all of us Rotarians, you can join us on the 20th. That happens every third Tuesday of every month. We connect people online for a global grant. And I think by doing that, with the planning of projects and planning of positive peace and the ability to put them together with the help of our foundation and connecting people around the world, I think that's where peace will start. Like Gandhi again says, before you talk peace to anyone, you gotta feed them first. So we have to meet their basic needs before we start talking about peace. And I think the combination that this opportunity brings to this group and other groups is tremendous. And I've talked to Phil before, and I'm not sure how much we settled on the cost of the course. What's the cost of the course, Phil?
Yes, I'm going to, so I know, thank you, Shab. So I'm going to say something about that shortly because you brought up some good points. So this time around, moving forward, we think that a good way to go would be global grants, which is what Shab's talking about. But this time around, we think that might not be the best way because of the time frame, because we're wanting to start this project based on recommendations from young people, from RAG, from Rotarians in September. And we think there's a way of clubs and districts raising the money. We're very aware at the same time that the $200 per student to go through the whole program, and I'm going to say something about that shortly, will be a lot easier for some than for example, young people in Syria or other young people. We have another webinar this afternoon in Spanish where there'll be people from Venezuela and Colombia and Peru. So what we need, and I know that Dirk's on the call as well, and he brought it up, what we need really is a call to you as Rotarians to go and speak to some of the wealthier Rotarians, Rotary clubs that can make this available for young people like Tarek in Syria, like Mithela, who's going to speak next, actually. We need to be in this together. It's a real peace building activity of collaboration and working through this together. But I'm going to say that, I'm going to say something about that shortly. I know that Dennis, meanwhile, is raising some really good points. I can't cover all of them, but what I would say is that, Dennis, one of the starting points for peace building, for peace studies, is to look at the question of how peace is defined. So within that program, within our program, they will be looking at how peace is defined. Another good thing that you've raised is that this project, although it's nice to get people together and collaborate and talk as well, we're also interested in looking at the big serious things that Dennis does rightly raise around nuclear weapons, around existential threats. So it's not just about being nice to each other. It's about really helping young people think critically about what are the biggest threats to peace in the world. And obviously nuclear weapons, I know Richard's on the call, he has done great work over the years. Obviously that is one of the big threats, you know, in the sense that what's happening. Myself, the UK, you know, more recently is investing a lot more in nuclear weapons, you know, which is obviously a massive threat. So these are things that will, of course, we're not going to answer them fully on the course. The idea is to obviously create a space where young people and those that are working with them can think through these ideas. I often say, with another hat on in the past, when I was teaching and things like this, if young people or whoever I'd work with walk away from this educational experience with more questions than answers, I think you as an educator has done a good job. Because what that means is that you're facilitating and encouraging people to think for themselves. That is a really important part of education and peace education in particular. So I know we've got quite a few great educators on the call. So I'm going to say something shortly more about, you know, the impact and the costs and things like this. But Mithela, are you there? Can you say something about why you're interested in this project and why you think it's important for your area?
Thank you, Phil. So first of all, I'm from Bangladesh, and I can speak only from my context. And if I broaden my context a little bit, I can speak from South Asian context. So here in this part of the world, I see young people as a marginalized group of people, and they have a limited space to raise their voice, to share their opinion, and to share their thoughts with policymakers, governments, and other people. And another important matter that I realized myself after I started working with peace education is that in our policies, we see different we see different good policies here, and they mention that yes, we will include peace education in the curriculum. But after many years of our own independence of Bangladesh, if I look at our curriculum, I do not see peace education there. And Phil, you actually presented a very important point at the beginning of your presentation, that you know, nowadays we say that young people are the leaders of the future and this kind of things. But you know, if I look at the newspaper, I see that rather than seeing young people as the future of the country, we actually see young people as problem. And another thing that I see in Bangladesh is young people are being used by different political groups, different extremist group, to fulfill their agenda. And they're joining those groups, they're brainwashed because they do not have peace education, or they do not have the, you know, they're not, they do not have the capacity to think critically, because they do not get the peace education in school or educational institutions. So I think this particular project is very interesting, because we are not only bringing different generations, we are creating an opportunity for young people to learn about peace. And you know, for bringing peace in the world, we need our head, we need our heart, we need our hands. And this project perfectly address all the three parts that we need to bring peace, to think critically, to how we can become peaceful inside, and how we can actually implement different projects in our own communities. And I also really hope that after this project, young people will not only implement projects in their community, they will also advocate in their country, in their community, for peace education, because it is very, very important in this time of where we are living right now. So I think we will be very fortunate if after different advocacy program, we see some successful cases from different countries. And in Bangladesh, I'm trying to work on peace education, but I also hope that I can advocate myself for, for including peace education in our curriculum. So this is from my side, and I think this project is very, very important, and I'm looking forward to see amazing projects and amazing collaboration and learning opportunities for everybody.
Phil, you're mute.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Mithela. I just feel kind of emotional, like listening to the last four young people, you know, Kasha and Chara and Tarek and Mithela, telling us that, you know, they want to be engaged with this work. They want to be engaged with peace education, but there's a real lack. We as adults, we have a responsibility to try and make this work happen for young people who are really interested and committed to making a difference. So I just feel kind of emotional. So thank you to the four young people that basically shared what they just shared. And by the way, those four young people are doing an amazing job with the World Beyond War Youth Network. So thank you so much for your leadership. Mithela spoke about young people being the future. Young people are the present as well, and they are making such a difference already. So thank you so much for being the leaders that you are. Thank you. And on that point,
I think it's worth saying, sorry, I think it's worth saying that we have 14 countries represented here. So that's a lot of voices around the world from young people.
Perfect. Thank you. 14. Great turnout. Thank you. And I know that Al as well. So Al's wrote something that, so Al's a wonderful kind of coordinator, World Beyond War in Florida. He's working with hopefully a past Rotary president to try and engage him and to try and engage others to see if we can go about raising some funds. I don't know if you want to say something about that, Al, or anything. Please feel free to unmute yourself and say.
Well, I guess by the way, I'm a former Rotarian from three different chapters, but also now very actively involved in World Beyond War in Florida and elsewhere. And I think this is an opportunity for both organizations. And what I want to do, most of the people that I know who are active in World Beyond War, heck, most of the people in Florida in the United States are old people. And we recognize that we're not going to save the world, but young people can save the world. And that's why I want to raise some money so that we can sponsor students around the world on this kind of education, because I also know that World Beyond War is the only organization that is so actively involved in abolishing war. And if we can get young people around the world to start saying there is an alternative to war and we don't support any kind of war, then I think we're going to start to make some progress in saving the world. So I hope raise some funds to sponsor students.
Well, Phil, you know, I see 5 young Rotarians, Mitella, Tariq, Kasha, Andy, and Sierra. And I am I'm initiating that by sponsoring half your dues, $100 per student. So I wanted to put something into it. I know Andy has been with us from the beginning of Rotaract for Peace. And I appreciate you, Andy, and I appreciate everyone that's been with us, but also that's a compliment to you for your effort all along for over a year right now. But all of you young people, I will send the money to Allison or to Phil or any other way of doing it. Phil, you send me a link and then I will put it on my credit card. But Mitella, Tariq, Kisha, Andy, and Shiara. Maybe Tariq needs some more help. Maybe somebody else will help you, because I know the devaluation of money in Lebanon and Syria affect the heck out of you guys. So I just came back from Lebanon. That's why I didn't attend the meeting last time. So you are, I am honored to be associated with you and be able to help with that. Alan, thank you for your thinking. We are thinking on the same wavelength. So, and I challenge every Rotarian or non-Rotarian on this call to dig deep in your pocket and think, if you want to think about it, think about it. If not, you can raise your hand and probably tell Phil how you feel and who you can adopt in the future. So thank you again, Phil, for the opportunity. And thank you for the young Rotarians or peacemakers that are sponsored by me this morning, by my wife and I. So Dr. Bricia, so thank you. And thank you for your willingness to be a peace builder, but you gotta put your hand on your heart and you gotta say, I will be the ambassador of this, of whatever I learned over here. I'll be the ambassador in our community, because that's how we wanna build peace. It's one person at a time, but when we start building peace, becomes community at a time and countries at a time and internationally. So thank you again for the opportunity, Phil.
Phil, can I piggyback on that? I want to make an offer too. We in Wales have a Rotaract E-Club of Peace that meets on a Thursday at 8:30, so 30 minutes before this time. I invite each and every one of you, if you want to be part of that, please just contact me. We would love to welcome you. And it doesn't cost anything. And I think it would just be fantastic. So welcome to Wales if you wish, via Zoom.
Thank you. Thank you, Alison. And just to piggyback off what Al said as well, and I know I've saw what Maria's wrote as well, so I'll come back on that. That we see a lot of young people are really active, really active nowadays around the world. I think they're probably more active in the climate change sense than what they are in the particularly war abolition and peace building sense. So part of the broader goal here is to how can we go about, as we said before, generating a new generation of young war abolishers and peace builders, you know, so I just wanted to come back on that. So thank you for bringing that up, Alan. And Shab, thank you as always for your support. Thank you for offering that. And I know Dennis as well has also wrote as well, saying that he would like to sponsor as well. So please, you know, be in touch with us. And actually on that, can I say, I'm going to share the screen now. Can I be very specific in terms of, well, how do we get involved and what does it take, etc.? I want to be really, really specific, because the really big thing to understand about this project is that it's not just about, okay, I'll take a course and then see you later. Now, people know with World Beyond War, we always have 100, and we've got 150 on our course now. It's easy for us to get people on the course. What this project is really, really exciting is that it's a cumulative developmental journey of peace education moving through to peace action. So young people and adults that sign up are really signing up to be part of a process. Now we're aware that that takes more work, but peace is hard work, and it's actually it's worth it. And Andy's on the call. Vale la pena. It's worth it. So the reason why Andy's not speaking, Andy's speaking next. We've got a information session in Spanish. So Andy's one of the guest speakers then. So so don't feel too bad, Andy. I know we spoke about it, and you'll be speaking. Vamos a hablar en español más tarde. We're going to speak in Spanish a little bit later. Okay. Yeah. So can I share the screen again to share some specifics around, well, how do we get involved with this? So here we go. It's worth also saying, what's the impact? Oh, I need to go through this again. What's the impact of the project before we say kind of specifics about how people get involved? So here's the impact. The impact, it's quite wordy here, but I'm going to say this. We can think of it in three ways. One is that it impacts on 120 individuals in 10 or more different countries. So those be young people, but also adults as well. And it helps to strengthen their peace building competencies, their critical analysis and research skills, because in order to do the projects, they will have to justify the need for that project. Often, I can say a problem with peace building and international development more broadly is this problem to go out there and get the work done. That is an issue. People think, well, that's what we should be doing. No, what we should be doing is stopping first and really understanding the context. We should be researching thoroughly to justify what action we want to take. So in no way am I saying that action is not needed. I'm saying that we need to stop and really be critical and think and justify the action that we want to take, because quite often we can do a lot more problems, do more harm than actually do good. So we'll be working with trying to develop young people as researchers in some way, and then looking at supporting them to get involved in organizing and community development through their projects, and also leadership. Bringing young people together to support their leadership, acumen, and also support their networks. So as part of the World Beyond War Youth Network, this is part of a strategy connected to it to try and grow more young peace builders and war abolishers. That's the individual impact, so education. The action part is obviously at the end of this project, we're going to have 10 new projects developed, which are tailored to address the particular needs in each particular context. So a project with Tariq in Syria will be different to a project with Alan or Al in Canada or the US, or Alison in Wales. Let's get some Wales, let's get some people from Wales.
Yes.
Yeah, let's get some. And then the other one is the 10 community events at the end of the project. So for example, with another hat on, in the project I helped develop, New Gen Peace Builders, we led two projects similar to what we're presenting, but a bit different. We had 800 people at 2 different events, 300 the first time, 500 the second, including the mayor, the head of the school system, etc. So it's a wonderful opportunity to showcase all the work. And then another idea is what we have, if people are interested. This is such a really innovative, novel project that we could write this up in such a way that either put a book together or something like this, in terms of communicating the broader influence. And this would be really of interest for Rotary as well as World Beyond War. So there's a little bit about the impact, the 3 levels of impact. Here's the details. We think that each project, and it's difficult when it wouldn't be each country, because sometimes there might be multiple countries, but each, let's say, project team would be made up of 14 people. So Helen knows about this, and other people that we've been working very, very closely, 14 people. 2 coordinators. The 2 coordinators would usually be the ones that would be kind of in a leadership role, kind of overseeing things, responsible for raising money, more likely. So they would be the coordinators for overseeing what happens in their particular area. They would recruit 2 mentors and 10 young people. The 2 mentors would go through the project, all of the project, for free of charge, because they would agree to be mentors for the young people when we go into part 2, the peace action part. And the youth would be 10 young people who would commit to going through the 6 weeks of online peace education and the 8 weeks of the peace action. So it's really a collaboration here. It's about signing up and working with us from start to finish. Here's a little bit of a breakdown. We think that there could be, and again, we're here to listen to your ideas as well. We think that there could be 3 different options, and we've come up with these options based on what people have been telling us. One is a centralized in-country team. Logistically, this is the easiest way to do things. So for example, Al in Florida, for example, he would say, we want to put together a centralized in-country team, 14 people. So all of the 14 people would come from a place in Florida, which is not too far away, so that logistically they can all work on the project together. Mithela, for example, if we look at the decentralized in-country team, might say, I think I can get 14 people, but actually 5 young people from the east of Bangladesh and 5 young people from the west. So obviously they'd have to come up with a project. Well, I mean, we're in COVID right now, so we have to be creative anyway, but think of a project which will be probably virtual, which is fine. So that would be a decentralized in-country team. But then the third option is decentralized multiple country teams. So for example, Tarek or others, or Chiara from Italy might say, oh, I'm not too sure we can get all of the people from our country, but we'd like to collaborate on an effort. So it would be made up of young people from Syria and Italy, etc., who would work together as decentralized country teams. We've got, I would say, 3 already countries. Canada, US, Canada pretty much given us the names, pretty much said we can get the money, etc. So there's 3 already, which are in the bag. So hopefully that gives a sense of what are the different ways. In addition to that, I know that there's people on the call that think, I really want to be involved with this, but I don't know if I can get teams. Reach out to us, because there's some thinking that we're working through right now, is that how can we utilize, for example, some of the World Beyond War alumni network to act as mentors. So there might be one project team from a country, but actually it's really useful to get an outside perspective as well, as a mentor who knows a little bit about peace building, etc., to act as an external mentor as well. So we're thinking through that as well. Any ideas people have would be great. Ways to get involved. Well, first of all, make the work available to your new generations in your area. Sponsor, recruit young people, $200. I've got to say out loud very, very strongly as well that this $200 is a kind of a one-off. There's no way we'll be able to keep with that price in the future because of the magnitude of the project. But we agreed it with the Rotary Action Group for Peace. We'd keep it at such a low price for this one occasion, because we're making history here. It's kind of, a pilot project, never been done before, between World Beyond War and Rotary Action Group for Peace. We are in conversations with Rotary International as well around this project as well, I can tell you. You might be asking, well, where does the $200 go? So we thought it would be useful to kind of lay out, so that people know, to be transparent in the spirit of good peace building. So, well, where does the $200 go? Well, part one, $100 pays for the full design and facilitation of the whole peace education curriculum. We'll be having some really great peace educators who will be facilitating the 6 weeks. Tony Jenkins is one of them. He was the education director before me. He's the coordinator for the Global Campaign for Peace Education. Tony and I have chatted, and he's going to be one of the facilitators. We've got another really good 5 facilitators. I think at least 2 or maybe 3 will be Rotary Peace Fellows as well, just to give a heads up. So we've got really, so that's where the money goes. In addition to the 6 weeks, as people from World Beyond War know, we run optional Zoom calls as well. So we'll be facilitating at least 3 of them as an opportunity to bring participants from different countries together. Part 2 is probably the more labor intensive, actually. It involves young people and adults working together on a weekly basis for 8 weeks to do their projects. So the role of the mentor would be to check in once a week with the young people. And then what would happen is that World Beyond War, in collaboration with Rotary Action Group for Peace, would then oversee and provide feedback on all of the 10 projects in each of the 10 countries. So that's the cost in terms of part 2. We'll be setting up an advisory board, and if people are interested, made up of both World Beyond War and Rotary Action Group for Peace and Rotarians. So if people are interested in being on that overall advisory board, please reach out to me and we can have a conversation about that. So in terms of next steps, we're doing the information sessions now in April. In April, we'll be putting together probably application packs, application process. We've already sent to some already an Excel sheet so that you can come back to us. So Helen on the call from Canada already done that. I don't know if others are on the call from Kenya, but they've done that. Sent back an Excel sheet which says, here are our 2 coordinators. This is the money that we'll raise. This is the young people, etc. So this is the kind of time frame, and of course each of these parts, onboarding and things, is broken down into more different parts. A little word about, and Alison, I'll invite you to maybe say something here about looking forward. What's our broader strategic kind of idea? Are you okay to say a little bit about what's on the screen here and how you see things panning out moving forward?
Yes, I think as with all things, it's not just about educating or inspiring or firing up the present. It's about once that happens, and we think that this project is capable of mushrooming. It's that good. And you've probably heard about the way that New Gen Peace Gen is planning to sort of in effect and just go across country to country. This has the same capacity, but more importantly, this will take the young people with them. So as they've gone through it, they then can become mentors, facilitators, whatever, in latter programs. So they don't just stop. We're able to build on that and to develop that with them. And I think that will be the success of it. And the other success of it, of course, is that we're starting in this way. And another question that comes up, and maybe I'll address it now, is why we've chosen the age group 18 to 35. Well, because under 18 during COVID and with Zooms, they come under the vulnerable class. So there's all sorts of things about that, about guardianship, parental care, etc. So we thought, this is the pilot. Let's start with the greatest chance of success, because success builds success. If this failed, there'd be nothing else. And it's the same with the young people. Another question came up on this call. How do we know that they won't drop off? Well, they're not going to drop off because they're going to be interviewed. There's going to be competition for these places because we think it's so good. And we've heard from yourselves that you've got people lined up for this. So they're actually going to be interviewed to tell us that they're going to learn about the commitment that they're undertaking, but not just the commitment to this course, but the commitment to using this information. We don't want it just put on a CV and left. We want it used. And then, so by doing that, we think that they're not only going to stay, but they're going to come back, and they're going to come back, and we're going to help us with the next one. So I think that's very much our future. And I think that by doing it this way, as we say, with the greatest chance of success, that the next one will be even better. And obviously each one will be tweaked and we'll learn things. And it'll be quite an interesting journey as we seek to learn from 10 different countries with the cultural input, the different issues, etc., the time zones. It's got oodles of challenges, but we're up for a challenge and we think it's going to be fantastic. Does that cover it?
Yeah, thank you, Alison. We are definitely up for a challenge. And on the point that, Yeah, it does. Great job. Thank you so much. We're very much up for the challenge. On what Alison said as well, and for those Rotarians, what we've done in the past and what I think would work this time around is that with regards to the question of dropping off, Rotarians would state really, really clearly that, look, we are providing scholarships for you to go through this prestigious program. And they would, in the application process, they would sign up and say, we commit to going through the 6 weeks and putting together a project and being in contact each week with our mentors, etc., so that there's right from the beginning very clear around what is the roles and the expectations, you know, involved of being part of this project, because Rotarians are going to be providing scholarships, you know, to enable this to happen for young people. So thank you for that. We have
another important question. It's really important because we were just asked, let me just find the name, Cindy Cat is saying, how do we donate money for parts 1 and 2? And that's quite interesting, isn't it? Because there's so many different variations on this. Shall I keep speaking or do you want to, Phil?
Please go ahead and say something.
Okay.
I can say something after that.
So obviously that we're always open for donations, and donations can be made for work to World Beyond War and Ring Fence for this. But something else we thought about is that it's $200 per person. It might well be that you have a particular club that has a passion for a particular part of the world, and they say, we'll sponsor a student from that. So long as obviously they're on the course, they could do it that way. There are things like district grant monies as well, if you're Rotarians, that can sometimes be used in this. We haven't grown enough yet to be a global grant. That's something for the future. But there's multiple ways of fundraising for this, and we're open to all suggestions. So it can be done anonymously. You could choose a country. We might even have candidates further down the line with pictures, and you actually choose a picture on your screen and you say, I want that one. I want to help that one, much as you do with microfinance. What do you think, Phil?
Yeah, thank you so much. You know, you said it really well, and that kind of connects into Dirk's question as well. So thank you, Cindy, for a great question. Thank you, Dirk, as well. We're going to be working through putting processes and platforms in place throughout April in terms of how people can go about donating. So we're going to be in contact with regards to that shortly. What's really useful is if countries or country teams or project teams can get back to us and say, this is the 14 that we know that are going to be involved. You know, here's the 2 mentors and things like this. So that would be great.
2 more important questions, Phil. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but is there a deadline for the monies? We've had Dirk asking us that. And then the other one is Bosco saying, but I'm not a Rotarian. But this isn't for Rotarians and Rotaractors. It's open to all use. So that's the good news on that one.
Yes, and that's the good thing. We chose to work in collaboration with the Rotary Action Group for Peace and Rotarians, but it's not a Rotarian project per se. It's just that it just makes sense for us because of obviously the background of Rotary, because of Rotary Peace Fellow and other things that we work in collaboration. So I could say there is a couple of 2 countries that have a lot of interest who don't have contacts with Rotarians. Sierra Leone is one, and Cameroon is another, who are really interested because they're part of our World Beyond War chapter already. They want to be part of this project, but not necessarily, you know, with Rotary. But so that's a great question, Bosco. Thank you for that. So with regards to, we're going to be in contact. So if you can reach out to us and say, is the 14, Phil, or, you know, that we've put together that we know will be involved, that would be the kind of next step. And Alison touched on a really good point that what we'll be getting as well, because we have really good supporters that help us, you know, in terms of funding at World Beyond War, is testimonies perhaps from young people, you know, on the ground that says, thank you so much for kind of making this project available to us, you know, and what we want to do is keep a track, and people that have seen the Excel sheet that we've put together, we're trying to track the status with regards to funding. So for example, I won't say who it is, but one country already has said, we've got the money, you know, and here's the 14 people, etc. Others have said, oh, we could definitely recruit the 14, and actually we can probably raise about half of it, but we're asking for help from Rotary and World Beyond War to raise the other half. So come back to us and let us know what is your status. We want to work together on this, you know, so that we can make this available to as many as possible. And the only fairest and transparent way of doing this is that really if the 10 countries who come back to us first and say we want this, they will be the 10 countries that will be involved in the project. It's the only fairest way of doing it, you know, because otherwise others will say, why won't we part of it? You know, it's about project. That's why the 3 countries have already come back and said, here they are, put us down, we want to be involved. So the quicker you can come back to us and let us know specific details, the better. I want to, just before going to the questions, because I'm aware of the time, I wanted to just show one other thing, because there's many other ways to get involved and many other free ways to get involved with some of the things. So it would be remiss of us if we didn't show you some of the great work that Rotary Action Group for Peace are doing and World Beyond War, just to highlight. So World Beyond War Youth Network, if you have young people from all around the world, send them to Chara, Kasia, and Tarek and Nathela, who are doing a great work of the World Beyond War Youth Network. Please reach out to them. We have a World Beyond War, and probably Al's done it and other people, a World Beyond War online course, Organizing 101. It's really good. It's really, really good. And it's free. And it's a 4-week course. You can take that today free of charge. It's really good. Alison and I, fortunate to co-host free of charge every Monday. Not today, though, because we're on this one. Rotary Action Group for Peace and World Beyond War Youth Voices call. And also Alison does some amazing chat with the chairs throughout the week as well. So maybe Alison, you can put it in the chat if people are interested in joining that. As you know, Rotary Peace Fellows, others, Rotarians and I are putting together the global conference again. Dirk's been involved heavily with that. There was 1,500 participants last year, and it's going to be a really cool one this year again. That will be in June. Al and Helen and Richard and others with World Beyond War, Sue, etc. with World Beyond War know that we've got our World Beyond War No War 2021 conference in June. Please join that. We've got some really good speakers on that one. And more this week, because I need to work on it, but we will be putting together in June or July our course War in the Environment, which is a really good course, 6-week course. So for those that are interested, please join. So I just wanted to say that out loud, because there's loads of ways of kind of collaborating. I wanted to say that out loud before kind of finishing. But do we have any other questions meanwhile, Alison?
Well, we had Bob mention that if we were in touch with the failed candidates of the peace centres, that would be a good recruiting ground. Although I did comment that I don't think we're short of recruits. We're just trying to actually come up with the countries at the moment so that any country who has a real interest doesn't get missed out. That's our main concern. And I'm conscious on this call, for instance, we have individuals from a number of African countries. So we might well think, as we've started to rethink about sort of an umbrella for a team from a particular part of the world, not necessarily all in country together. So that shouldn't preclude anyone. Anyone who's on this call who desperately wants to take part in this can email Phil or myself, tell us of that, so that we note that, and if it's at all possible, we will include you. And if it's not, we'll put you on the waiting list for the next one, because there will be a next one. But we're open at this moment.
Yeah, thank you, Alison. I want to do a shout out as well, because I've just seen him pop in as well. So Bill, I don't know if you could put your camera on, but for those that don't know, Bill does an amazing job of kind of supporting us, the Rotary Peace Fellowship family. So thank you for being with us. I don't know if you want to say hello or anything, Bill.
Sure, I'll just say hello. And yes, always exciting to see Peace Fellows like Phil working with Rotarians. And also, I think important in this case, not only a Rotary audience, but other groups as well. But as I mentioned in my comment, I think clearly Rotary Youth Program participants, RILA participants, Rotaract, Interact, Rotary Youth Exchange participants would seem to be really good participants to target. As Alison said, there's plenty of interest from lots of different places, but I would encourage you to look there too.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you for being with us. Thank you. Any more questions, thoughts, ideas? We want to really use this as an opportunity to hear from you as well, you know, for ideas that you have. So please let us know.
Phil, I streamed this one on Facebook Live. That's why you see Shameen Khan, Bangladesh, who got the link from me, you know, online, so we can join. So I think you can also use that. I put it on the chat. You can use the link for a program in your club. Like Alan wants to promote that, you can promote it through this or the recording. Then when we send it, I think that's how we want to get the word out. We had over 80 views right now on my Facebook.
Perfect. You're a superstar. Thanks, Shab. So Dennis, I know you've been writing.
Leah has her hand up. Phil,
oh,
Leah has her hand up.
Hey, Leah.
Hey, hi guys. How are prospective country coordinators even hearing about this program? Is Rotary putting that out through their massive network? How are people even hearing about it?
Yeah, so
I think we have possibilities. I think it's a question of the chicken and the egg, Leah. And at the moment I don't know which one we're at. We're probably with the chicken. And when we get to the egg, once we've formulated some firmer plans, I could ask for something to go to all of our Peace Builder clubs, for instance, around the globe. We could also ask for something to go on our site. We could ask for something to go in our newsletter. So that would actually reach Rotarians in that way, and hopefully a wider audience. And something that you should all be aware of, you know, Rotary has now said that non-Rotarians can be members of action groups. So even the Rotarian Action Group for Peace, you can be a member, even if you're not a Rotarian. You won't be able to hold office, but we would welcome your membership and your input. So there is a warm welcome for you. But that's something that we could do. I saw Dennis nodding. Am I right, Dennis? That's what we do, isn't it? Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and Bill is another great kind of resource for us as well. So hopefully, but you're always great when we reach out to you for support. So we'll be reaching out to you as soon as we kind of get, you know, some processes in place and things like this as well. I don't know if you want to say anything about that in way in which maybe you could help, or Rotary International, you know, could help.
Yeah, you know, especially at the time all the details are finalized. For my part, right, the Rotary Peace Fellow audience, I think those are people who are good people to kind of, leverage their networks and extend the reach. But also there are ways that we can, invite, potentially Rotaract members, Interact members, like I mentioned. So I'm staying tuned, staying interested, staying informed, and we'll be happy to help as I can.
And on this first one, we're not including Interact simply because of the age barrier with Zoom and restrictions around them being vulnerable. They will be considered in the future because any of Interact is very much part and parcel of what we do. So, but this first time out, they'll be 18 and above. Phil, Bosco's got his hand up, and then Sharp had his hand up again. Just checking for others.
Okay. Yeah, Bosco, do you want to go?
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity. I'm really so much excited about the discussion. I know it's really the turn of young people around the world to create a sustainable peace and a sustainable development at the same time. And I just want to say thanks so much. And I don't know, I just need to know what can really qualify me from South Sudan to be part of that and to organize a kind of peace education program in the community, and then engage the young people in, because here we have really that huge number of young people that really needs much to be done in the areas of peace building and education. So I don't know what am I supposed to go through so that I become part of the project, I become part of the group. I already have an organization that I'm running, so I just need to share more, maybe in our private time, and then send an email to you people. This is just what I need to say.
Well, thank you, Bosco. So two things on that. One is that one of our, actually another alumni from World Beyond War already said that he wants to fund one or several from South Sudan because he does work there. So there's one thing. A second thing, as Leah and others know, we work very closely with a group in South Sudan who have been on our courses and things like this. And they want to do this work with us so much. There's, but they obviously need support in terms of funding. So we're a global grassroots movement that, as Leah knows and others know, we really look to others to help with funding. So that is you in terms of Rotarians and others on the phone who are interested in working with, sponsoring, etc. Bosco, then please reach out to us. So Bosco, with regards to your comment, if you and I could be in contact, and because we're putting together this Excel sheet, we'd love to know specifics in terms of who you're thinking of from South Sudan, because what we have to do is come up with the 10 countries. And Alison, others, and I originally thought through that we wanted a good mix of global North and global South. So we definitely know already we've got Canada, US, Kenya, South Sudan have been interested before, Venezuela, Colombia. We've got an information call later with Spanish speaking to find out who's interested. So we've got quite a lot of interest there as well. So the quicker people can get back to us with regards to interest and tell us who the countries are, the quicker we can kind of finalize the 10 countries. Shab, did you want to go?
Answering Leah, you ask about how we can communicate. We've been very successful, especially international groups like this. We've been very successful, and Andy can attest to that, with the groups on platforms on WhatsApp. And we have like over 15, 20 platforms on WhatsApp, which I will offer to send our notices on. But also, that doesn't mean that we cannot start our own platform. I will start the platform if Phil and Alison will allow me to do that. And then I'll send it to Alison and to Andy, invite them to be administrator, and then we will give administrator to everyone. Then you can put anybody in your district on that platform. And then when we communicate, it's faster to communicate through those platforms. And then we can share what we're doing with other platforms in the world. That's how we communicate nowadays. No more, emails and text. It's a big platform that communicate and bring people together. So if you allow me, I will start the group and I'll send it to Alison and Andy, and then you can be an administrator from your district or from your group, and then we can communicate that way. This way we can communicate way faster than we communicate on what do you think, Phil?
Sounds good to me. Thank you so much, Shab. As always, sounds great idea to me. Thank you. I've seen another question in the chat, and I also want to say as well, we want to be respectful of your time. We said an hour and a half. If people need to drop off, please don't feel please drop off, etc. Dennis, did you want to come in before you wanted to go or say something?
Yes. I first of all, thank you and congratulations for putting this thing together. One thought that I had, since you're looking for countries, and also fits in, again, I go back to World Beyond War, and the war that some of our Rotarians, a group of us, are concerned about is nuclear war. And there are 9 nuclear weapons countries, interesting enough. And the thing is, what if, again, that there are a specific cause, and where the countries, the 9 nuclear weapons countries, actually all looked at the cause of preventing nuclear war or a war free of nuclear weapons, and what they would do in each of their countries. And we've got India, Pakistan, and and within our group there are many people from that area. There's UK, France, et cetera, and that's one way, again, of having a focus that with all your learning, how do you implement that learning into something an essential threat to civilizations. And how do we go about it? And I think, in my mind, just as a thought, I'm thinking about it because since you're organizing by countries, why not having the countries looking at a specific problem within their country? And interesting enough is the fact that, again, the nuclear weapons problem, you've got 9 other countries that they can also collaborate and really be powerful voice as far as what the world should be doing to affect this problem, which is one of the key things which World Beyond War is about.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
And so it fits in. And then I think it provides Rotary, really, since we're, involved more in the peace building side. We're moving from polio onto other things. And we've got climate change, but also I think the whole idea of peace really affects climate change about the funding and everything else. So I think this might be an interesting, always look at a holistic, big idea that that could be, I guess, exciting. I'm excited if you could bring all these countries together.
I think it's a lovely idea, but the only trouble is, I think it's something we might need to consider later. I think for the time being, a bit like a global grant, where we've engaged with lots of countries, we're engaged in another 17 countries today. And it's actually, we're asking them what their need is, what their desire is, what they want. So I think it's the starting place. It doesn't mean to say it's where we're going to stay, Dennis. And I think your idea around thematic or issues is possibly one that we could consider further on. But this time around, I think it's got to be open to all comers because we build it that way.
I agree with you, Allison. This is, but at the same time, but it might be interesting by, again, if you, quote, put it out as that way, it'd be interesting how many people would say, yeah, I like to join that cause, as opposed to something that is more generic. Now, basically you're going to learn to do something. Here, not only are you going to learn to do something, but here's something, if you're concerned about war, about nuclear war, destroying lives and civilization, you might find people who want to join. Just an idea. And the thing is, if you don't do it, fine, then Richard and I will do it. Right, Richard?
Well, okay, so as you know,
you'll have to get permission to use the material, dear.
So, okay.
The thing is, again, I go back, I agree, but at the same time, peace, there's a lot of materials that are, common across the board, but I know everybody said their different spin to it. And my different spin, of course, is I'm always a guy with the Rotary principles and everything else. So anyway, but just as a thought. So I think it's going in the right direction.
So yeah, okay. Thank you, Dennis. Thank you, Alison. And I was thinking of Richard as you were talking as well. So people know at World Beyond War, we are against the big things, so not just about being nice to each other. We're about, the existential threats such as climate change, such as nuclear weapons. So it's a great option to have. And I support my wonderful colleague as well, Alison, around, we want to leave the option open to each country to decide, or each context. But you raise a good point there, Dennis, because people have asked, well, what do they do the projects on? And just saying you could do on whatever you want to is probably not that helpful. So what we thought through is that let's have a strategy, and Leah knows. So within World Beyond War, we have our global security system, which is an organizing framework. And the projects will revolve around one of those three. Right. Demilitarizing security, managing conflict like violence, or a culture of peace, so that young people and whoever wants to take on a project has a framework to work from, and then at the same time they can adapt it and do it in such a way which makes sense for their context. Honestly, I think it's a nice idea if there's one way of mobilizing to grow a broader coalition, but that's not on us. That's not on us to decide. That's on the local experts to decide, because they're the local experts in their context and they decide
Three
what the need
headings
is.
have got plenty of scope. Those three headings are brilliant.
Yeah,
I agree. But I assume that, again, there's some local experts in each of the 9 countries that have nuclear weapons who don't want nuclear weapons. But I agree with you. I mean, so anyway, I appreciate the opportunity to, you know, give some of my thoughts, share my thoughts in both the chat and also live here. And I think the young people that spoke were terrific. So I think, and the old people with young at hearts are terrific too. And so it's terrific. So it's a good day.
That must be the summing up, as we're out of time.
No, it's a good day, because anytime anybody tries to talk the piece and everything, and it's a good day, you know. And just got to keep pushing. And again, different ideas, and nobody has the secret. We just got to work at it. And the more people working on it with different approaches, the better. So I welcome this approach.
Thank you, Dennis. So thank you for your support. And you said something there nice in terms of we've got to work on it. So let's end with a saying by, or a quote by Martin Luther King. He once said, "I have a dream," right? But we don't remember Martin Luther King because he had a dream. We remember him because he was strategic and he put his plan into action. So that is on all us now, to put this plan into action, to work together as a collaborative to make it work. So I think with that in mind, if there's no other questions or anything, let's say out loud what some of the next steps are, so that everybody on the call is aware, well, what's my role, what's my next steps, etc. Is that okay with everyone? So in terms of some next steps, we will follow up with an email after the call tonight as well, in Spanish, with an email thanking you all for being the wonderful people you are, and thank you for your interest, but also including kind of next steps in terms of what happens in terms of recruitment, what happens in terms of, and I see on this call here, there's some wonderful people who could be part of this advisory board. So we want to put together the creme de la creme kind of advisory board made up of World Beyond War and Rotary. And the role of the advisory board would be helping in terms of helping with funding overall, but also helping what should it look like? I mean, obviously we have a framework in terms of peace education and peace action, but ideas around how can we go about monitoring and evaluating? How can we go about establishing, a baseline and evaluation and all these things? So please let us know if you have interest in being part of that advisory board. We will also follow up, we said, with regards to recruitment and application. We will also, actually we did it on the other email as well, but put an Excel sheet or a link to an Excel sheet, which lays out, here's the 14 spaces, 2 coordinators, 2 mentors, 10 young people, fill in the gap, and there's a section on there that says status. Let us know what your status is, whether you can raise all of the money or whether you need help with the money. And there's also kind of notes, anything else that you want to, tell us. If you want to be part of the advisory board, etc., please tell us. So that's some of the next steps. As we know,
that Excel sheet, sorry, Phil, if you don't worry if you can't fill all those spaces in, so you haven't got the 10 people or you haven't got the 2 road, fill in as much as you think you've got or that you want that your lender take to do, and the same with the money, so we can piece it all together.
Yeah, and along those lines as well, because I know Dennis, Shab, and a few others on the call, and Cindy and others have already said, well, we want to sponsor some. It might not be the full 10, but email us and say, we want to sponsor this many people, etc. And if you have a specific country or context in mind, please email us and say, these are the countries that we want to sponsor, etc. So those are some of the next steps. As we know, beginning with the end in mind, the start date is September. So if we work backwards, we have to go through a recruitment process. We have to go through what we call an onboarding process. So there'll be an onboarding process for each country project team to really give them a sense of what's involved in this project, with regards to the 6 weeks and the 8 weeks of the Peace Project mentoring. There'll be a training for mentors as well, to get them prepared to be effective mentors. you know, in the context of peace building as well. So there'll be a mentoring along that. And in Watch Out this month, I get some time, we'll be putting together a video, we'll be putting together more information to go online, etc., which fills out more details about the project. But we're starting this all together. And I think the wonderful thing is that it's not about us just saying, this is the project, here it is. We really want to hear from you. You know, so please come back to us with ideas, because we really want to make this it will be a really cool project, a really, really wonderful project. So come back to us with more ideas, etc., as well, as we kind of move forward. But, you know, as Alison and others have said, and Shab, shout out to the young people. They deserve a lot of credit, because those are the young people are the people that come to us and basically said, Phil, we'd love to work with you and Rotary Action Group for Peace, World Beyond War on a project. They deserve so much credit. So we want to kind of leave the last words and congratulations and thank you to the young people, because it's them that really are the driving force behind this project. So
Phil,
unless there's
Phil,
any,
I just formed the group. I have a link right now in the chat. Anybody can click on that link and carry it with you and invite anyone you want into this group. And then we will chat freely all together. So you can click on it, join. I just had two people join from other organizations too. So click on it, copy it, put it in your notes, and then you can use it to send it to any young person in your area to join, just by copy, paste, and send it over to anybody. Or you can join also right away, instantly. So thank you again for doing it.
Thank you everybody for staying longer than the hour and a half. We really, really appreciate it. On behalf of you know, Rotary Action Group for Peace and World Beyond War, thank you so much for being the leaders that you are, and we really hope to be working with you moving forward on this project.